Becky Duff here, and welcome to my channel and to my March wrap-up. So March has not been a good reading month for me. I started the Volkswagen Blues in February, and I talked about this book in my February wrap-up, so check that out if you want to know more about this. But I read this, and then in March I read The Little Paris Bookshop by Nina George, and this was for the Buzzwordathon, which was, the word was for a place, I believe. March locations, so Paris for this one. So this Volkswagen Blues by Jacques Poulin and translated by Sheila Fishman is a Canadian book written in French and published like in Quebec and translated into English. And then this also happens to be a translated work, but I'm not sure if it's translated from German or French. I think German, because The Little Paris Bookshop spent more than a year on bestseller lists in Germany and was bestseller in Italy, Poland, and the Netherlands. George lives in Berlin and in Brittany, France. So I think this might be German first and then was translated. It doesn't say on here who the translator is. But anyways, two French books that have been translated. Again, I don't know if the original language was French for this one, but it takes place in Paris and has a lot of like French words in it. And they're both actually pretty similar. This one has more of a plot going throughout. This one's more just random. And I feel like these two books combined have put me in the biggest reading slump / burnout. And now why I say two different things, because a slump is more like you just don't want to read anything. Either you read this amazing book and nothing is going to touch that, so you don't want to read anything else at the moment, or you just read like a horrible book and you're just bummed out and don't want to read anything. For me, I feel like the burnout is reading too many books and trying to get through too many books all like at the same time or close together. So if you look at my currently reading on the Storygraph, there's like always like 5 books going. So I just finished Outlander, the first one in the series, as an audiobook. I listened to the last like 3 hours of it, and I just finished it now, and I've read those books before. So I've had that going. Today is March 27th, and I started that book on January 1st. Now my goal is to get through the Outlander books this year, but not necessarily like speed through them. I do want to read all 9 of them this year, but it's taken me 3 months to read the one, so I'm going to have to pick that up if I do want to keep that up and read all 9 of them. Because if it's going to take me 3 months to read one, it's going to take me like several years to get through them all. And I've read all but the 9th one. But I'm planning on doing a bit of physical reading with that one, and I'm tabbing them and stuff since I've read them before. So I just wanted to, like, so much happens in the Outlander series, so I just want like notes like, this is when this war happens, this is when she travels here, this is when they travel there, and there's a lot of history from like the 1700s, and I don't know any of it, and these different wars that take place like in Scotland and between France and England and Scotland and all this stuff. So I want to take like some notes, and yeah. Anyways, so it's taken me a long time to read those. So I had that one going. So I just marked that as read on Storygraph. So yay for that one. So that was my January, February, March read. I had this one going, which was like, this one took me around a month to read, even though it's not super long. And the chapters are really short. Like the one chapter was 10 pages. And I was like, wow, that's a long chapter. It just took me a long time because I was buddy reading it with a friend of mine. And so we were like reading a chapter here, a chapter there. And like, really nothing happens in it. He's traveling from Quebec he ends up in California. So through a little bit of Canada and then into the States. That's like the through storyline. And that's it. Each chapter is just like so random. So we weren't like motivated to read it really fast. I've been reading my Buzzword books. The first one was The Nowhere Girls for the who, what, where, when, why buzzword. And then You for pronouns. And now The Little Paris Bookshop for locations. So I've had the Buzzword books going on, and then just other books that I've been wanting to read. And then this month there was the Draconathon, Readathon, and today is the last day of the Backlist Readathon. I'm not going to talk about the readathons in this wrap up, just the books I have completed. And then if you want to know more about those books, you can watch those vlogs once I get them going. But I don't know why this book has put me in such a slump. The only other book I have finished this month is Burn by Patrick Ness, and then I have Amari and the Night Brothers that I'm supposed to be reading with my kids. Haven't finished that one yet. The Dragon Warrior, which I was reading for the Draconathon. Haven't finished that one yet. And I even got that one as an audio, and I have like no desire to listen to that right now. I'm also reading a Christian like prayer book. It's a book that talks about how to pray. It's not a book filled with prayers that you pray. So like there is like, not a story, but it's kind of like a self-help Christian book about how to pray. So I got that one currently going, which I started like again January 1st, and I just have not been keeping up with it. So there's just too much going on in my brain right now. So why has this book just put me in such a slump? I have no idea what is going on with this book right now. So I will just read you the synopsis off the back really quick. Monsieur Perrault is a literary apothecary. From his floating bookstore in the barge on the Seine, he prescribes novels for the hardships of life. Okay, just that part there is really cool. He restored this barge, and it's a bookshop literally on the Seine, and like that is so cool. And he considers himself, like it says, the literary apothecary. So you come in and he just like he'll ask you a couple little questions and just get a feel of like who you are, what kind of mood you're in, what's going on in your life, and he's like, this is the book you need, and then he prescribes them a book. And that was really cool. I really enjoyed that, and I want to go to Paris, and I want to go to the Seine, and I want to go on this barge and check out this literary apothecary. Now, I don't think it's a real bookstore in Paris, unfortunately, and the way this book goes, it wouldn't be there now anyways. I just think that's so cool, and now I want a bookstore on like a river, even if it's not in Paris. The little Fort McMurray bookshop on the Snai. Using his intuitive feel for the exact book a reader needs, Perrault mends broken hearts and souls. The only person he can't seem to heal is himself. He's still haunted by heartbreak after his great love disappeared. She left him with only a letter that he has never opened. After Perrault is finally tempted to read the letter, 21 years later, he hauls anchor and departs on a mission to the south of France, hoping to make peace with his loss and discover the end of the story. He dispenses his books and his wisdom along the way, showing that the literary world can take the human soul on a journey to heal itself. An international bestseller filled with warmth and adventure, The Little Paris Bookshop is a love letter to books meant for anyone who believes in the power of stories to shape people's lives. I also got the audiobook for this, and that's the only way I was able to finish this. Not that this book is bad, not that it's poorly written, not that it's not interesting. I've just been in a reading slump, and it's been like a drag to read books. Like, what? It doesn't even make sense, right? So I listened to the last part of this, like kind of back and forth between reading and listening to it. This is a good book, and like it's not this crazy plot driven thing. It's more character based, I would say. Like, he dispenses books and his wisdom along the way, showing that the literary world can take the human soul on a journey to heal itself. So I would say like that's the main theme of this book. It's just his journey about like his lover that he had 21 years ago, and he's never been able to let her go. She just up and leaves, and he wakes up and she's gone, and she's left this letter, and he is mad, and he's like, I am not reading that letter, and he puts it in a drawer and he forgets about it, and he's been closed off from people pretty much ever since then, except for being this bookseller. Like, that's all he cares about. He doesn't want to be like in a relationship, nothing like that. And this story is about his journey into healing. So that was really cool and really interesting, and the people he meets along the way. I really liked all the ideas in this book and the concept of the book and everything like that. And I would definitely suggest checking it out if you like those kind of books, more the contemplative. There's that little bit of adventure because he pulls up his anchor and just goes down the Seine, and he's like, I'm going to like the other side of France in my book barge. So there's that little bit of adventure to it. And there's another character in here. He's really, really young, like early 20s, and he writes this book, and it just like hits the bestseller list, and he becomes like super famous, and he's like doesn't like the fame and wants nothing to do with the fame or anything. People are like recognize him on the street or whatever, and he's like always in disguise and being like not wanting to be around anybody. He ends up on this adventure with Perrault as well. So that's interesting. There's 2 cats in here with literary names that are really cute. There's Kafka and I can't remember the other one. Lindgren or something like that. But that's really cute too. I love the idea of these 2 cats just living, like, they're stray cats that just like wander onto the barge when it's not busy, and he feeds them, and then they'd wander off and walk around Paris and stuff like that and just come back periodically. Like, he doesn't own them or anything. When he leaves, they're on the barge with him. I did take some notes and do some highlighting in it. There's a few little things that like stuck out to me in this book. I suggest this book if you like those kind of stories and the like personal growth and journey. And I have a few books that are bookish books that are like bookstores or libraries or whatever that I am slowly making my way through. And I have another one on here called The Lost for Words bookshelf by Stephanie Butland. And I also have that for Buzzword. Buzzword is getting me through my bookish books. And that is July book related words. So The Lost for Words bookshop. And I read another one of my bookish books last year for the Buzzword, I believe. And I actually really liked that one. That was a good one too. I can't remember what it was called. Next month, the word for April is big and little. So I want to read A Little Life. And that book is like this thick. I have it here on my Buzzword shelf. So everyone knows this book. I've never heard of it before BookTube before. So like I would have never picked this up. Like look at this thing. Everyone says like this is going to destroy you. That it's like sad, but just really good. I'm really interested in reading this, but I'm kind of scared with this book slump that is kind of like set in right now that like, am I even gonna get through this? But I have the whole month of April. Well, it's not like I'm gonna be like attacked for not finishing the Buzzword in that month, but I'm giving myself the month of April to read this, but I'll also need something like happy or lighthearted to read along with it. It's 816 pages. 816 pages, so I'll have to figure out like how many pages a day I need to read of this. And then in March, I also, one book I've actually finished was Burn by Patrick Ness, which I will talk about in my Draconathon vlog. That one was YA, and I enjoyed it. It was really interesting. It's a world where dragons and people live together. They live together, they work together. Dragons aren't just like this myth that you find out is real or not. They actively coexist together, and they like always have kind of thing. That one was really good. I enjoyed that one, and I would recommend it if you like dragon stories. I don't read a lot of dragon stories. It's not like the super high fantasy. It's just in the real world. It takes place in 1950s. The only like magical thing about it is that there's dragons and there is like dragon magic in the world, but like beyond that, it's not like this fantasy world. So that one was kind of cool. I'm not like not that I'm against fantasy or don't like fantasy. It's just not my go-to genre, and it's so much to get into and so much lore and background and world building to get into. So I liked this one for that it was like easy to read and there wasn't a lot to learn about it, just how dragons and humans came to coexist. And there's a bit of a riff between them, well, they're at peace, but it's kind of like any little thing could like knock that out and start a war between them, but they're okay right now. And I was reading a lot of more like middle grade kids books for the readathon, Draconathon with my daughter, and this one is definitely YA, and there's definitely like some scenes in it that I wouldn't want my 10-year-old reading. So just keep that in mind. It is a YA book and not for like even preteens or whatever. I think that's it for March stuff right now. And yeah, I don't know about this reading burnout. Today is the last day of the backlist readathon, and I'm just using it to try and finish some books like Outlander, and that's it. That's all I can really say about it. Hopefully I'll get out of this soon and I'll be able to dive into A Little Life, and I'll vlog that one as well. I also read Marshmallow and Jordan in March. And Jordan is a girl in middle school who comes across this injured elephant. She hears crying in the playground one day as she's heading home and discovers this elephant hiding underneath the play equipment, a slide, I believe. And she takes him home and he's injured. So her mom happens to be a vet, and she puts a bandage on his leg and stuff and helps him to get around. So the artwork in this is just stunning. This is what made me want to pick it up. I was with my daughter at the library and we were just going through some books looking for something for her. And I saw this and I looked through it and I thought it was so beautiful, and then I put it back. And then I picked it up like 3 times. I was like, no, you know what? I'm going to take it home and read it, even though I don't read graphic novels very often. But this one just looked so gorgeous. And I love the watercolors and the purples and pinks and everything. The whole aesthetic of this book is just gorgeous. And the elephant, of course, is adorable. So I took this book out again, and my 8-year-old daughter read it, and she really enjoyed it. As you can see here, the elephant is trying to help Jordan, who is upset because she cannot do all the same things in sports that she used to be able to do. And she hasn't gone swimming in a long time because of her injuries and stuff. So the elephant, Marshmallow, builds this pool for her. And as you can see here, Jordan is wearing dress with a little tiny elephant on it, and I thought that was so cute. The little tiny details in this book are just so adorable, and I just loved how all the little details in the pictures go with the story. Again, here's another beautiful picture of the watercolors and stuff. The pinks, the purples, all those colors together, I just really love that. You see at the end of the story, there's an author's note, and there is a mini dictionary. There are some photos there of the visual development paintings. And then this story takes place in Indonesia, so there's some information in the back, like the dictionary explains some of the words that are used throughout the story. And then there is some recommendations of food and drinks from Indonesia that the kids in this story enjoy. And then there's facts about Indonesia as well, which I thought was really cool. And in the story, there is also, they go through a drought. So there is some information about how to prevent droughts as well, or what to do during a drought.